Welcome to the Trail Chasers podcast. I'm your host, Dean Horwitz, and I'm excited to share this journey with you. Each week, we'll be hitting the trails with some of South Africa's most inspiring trail runners, diving into the topics that matter most and uncovering the secrets of this incredible sport. Lace up your trail shoes and join me on this adventure. New episodes every week. This week, Musa and I welcome Adidas Terrex athlete Marcel, or Macy Pacy as he is known, fresh off a win at Cappadocia, where he also set the record. Macy is a previous winner at UTCT, having won the 35K in 2021, and is tackling the 100K for the first time this year. Join us as we dive into all things UTCT and Macy's incredible trail running career. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
I don't know, do I call you Macy? Do I call you Marcel?
Well, most people, except for like my grandma, call me Macy, so feel free to do the same.
What does your grandmother call you?
Marcel.
Okay.
With a German accent, obviously.
So is your name legally, have you changed it to Macy Pacy?
I have not, but I think I don't need to because everyone just knows me under the name Macy anyway.
Yeah.
So why would I spend energy on changing it legally?
Exactly. Yeah, welcome to Cape Town. Although
Thanks.
This probably feels like home. So I wanted to have you on here, as we were chatting about before. Like, obviously you're an incredible runner. You've achieved some amazing things. So we obviously want to dive into that. But there's so many like different layers. Like you were saying earlier when we were chatting off air about your masters and the work you're doing in sustainability. And it really feels like you have such a passion for the sport and for the broader kind of things around the sport. So really want to dive into all of that, as well as obviously like your FTKs, there's the SkyRunning as well, which seems absolutely absurd, like crazy, the heights that you kind of get to over there. And then obviously, as you said, like your masters, the work you do in the outdoor kind of space, your work with Adidas and your sponsorship. So welcome, and let's get it started.
Great.
Musa?
Yeah, I think.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here. I mean, I've met Macy a few times last year. Tried to run with him.
Tried.
Being the operative word at Otter. Tried to chase him.
Yeah.
He just disappeared. So yeah, it's nice to share the space where he's not running.
Amazing. And yeah, Musa, I'm glad to finally have you here, and it's nice to have you in a calm space for a change, rather than the frantic energy you put out at the races. And obviously we're doing a UTCT special, so very, very keen to obviously chat about that. Let's get into it. So trying kind of like a new thing with these podcasts, and because someone said to me, like, you need to connect more with the kind of the trail running space. So I want you can close your eyes if you want. Mm-hmm. So I want you to imagine you're at any trail race, or, take us back to Cappadocia. Take me through your race day prep, night before, pacing strategies, timings, how does that all work?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot, first of all, for having me, and also the flattening introduction. I'm flattered, really. Okay, so race day, or the evening before, I try to avoid. I mean, like, sometimes life gets a little bit busy, or usually it is, and like pre-race, I try to like shut this all out, make sure I get as much rest as I could possibly get, and also to just relax my mind and get mentally ready for what's about to come, as well. There will be a lot of rice. Carb loading is something that I think is very, very important for any racer, really, especially for me. That's the experience that I made. So there will be a lot of rice, and usually that rice will be eaten in bed with the legs up, as much as comfortable as I can possibly have it. And that's pretty much about it. Like, that would be the perfect pre-race day, just like bed and rice and good vibes only. And then race day. I mean, I worked with my coach for many years now, and we basically like like allocate like certain heart rate intensities to stages in the race. So I'll just try to like do nothing else but to execute the plan that we've prepared, which in theory is pretty easy. In you know, like if you're actually on the trails, like for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th hour, whatever, obviously that's a little bit harder. But I try to run the intensities that we like calculated, try to get the carbs in, and just do my race with as little distractions from the outside as possible, and while also trying to enjoy the trails as much as I can, because you know, and this is the great thing about trail running, every race is different, right? Cappadocia in Turkey a couple of days ago obviously was very different to what home is, and home is very different to what I'm enjoying here in Cape Town these last days and the next few weeks. And yeah, I think that's a great part of it, to also be successful for years to come, for many years, not only like basically like focus on this like very performance-based thing, but to really enjoy the moment as well as the journey.
I like that. Just a follow up on my side. I mean, it's as a pro, you obviously, I mean, your name is there on the start list. I mean, we also do our own predictions on who's going to win, etc. How often do you pay attention to who's in the starting list? I mean, as much as people try and avoid it, I mean, it's there. People say maybe your name is not even mentioned. You know, how often like does those mental games play a role in your prep for a race?
I think I can use this to my advantage, actually. I mean, I do look who's on the start list, of course. I do look into what results they have been able to produce, but also like what did they like fuck up, you know? Like did they like do they have a habit of starting too quickly? Is that someone worth following, or will he blow up later in the race? You know, those kind of things. And I feel like I'm quite resistant to doing stupid things at the start or at the beginning of a race, and then like use the information I get from looking at the start list to execute my race. And then in general, I think you know, like Musa, like if I at UTCT this year I perform under what your predictions will be, you will not be saying like, oh, look at Macy, like he's a shit runner. You know, you will just say, oh man, this poor dude like had a bad day. You know, like in the end, like no one really cares that much. You know, it's you who cares about your race results and doubts yourself the most. But it's definitely not your friends who will do that. And so if you come to this realization, I think, like life and racing will just be so much easier.
Yeah.
On that note, like, just please don't embarrass us if we predict you to win the race. Like, no pressure, but like, if we predict you to win the race, you better not embarrass us. So take us kind of back, you know, if you look kind of at your running journey, you know, through the years, what is there like a particular moment that stands out, you know, as kind of the most fulfilling moment that you've kind of had, you know, that kind of really just sticks out in your mind?
I guess there are, but like if you're, and I'm doing this now for almost 16 years, you know, like realistically, it's like a very gradual process, you know, it's not like you don't have overnight success. You don't like suddenly have that like super great moment or whatever. I mean, sometimes it works a little bit like that. But then, you know, like it's up and downs like all the time. And like if you like look at the big picture, it's just like a constant, gradual incline of success, really. But yeah, I think there are a couple of things that kind of stand out for me, and I like to look back at those. And my win here at the UTCT 35 2021 was definitely one of them. And that was great. And back a little bit further back, there's me being able to work with Adidas Terex, joining that team, which allowed me access to so many great athletes out there from who I've learned so much, and who are now like my best friends, and with whom I like travel the world and enjoy the trails everywhere, which is absolutely fantastic. Then there's a German championship that I won a couple of years ago, which stands out for me as well, because I mean the race was okay. My time was pretty okay on that course. But what makes it stand out for me is the fact that with a friend a couple of years earlier, I founded the SkyRunning Federation, which put me in the capacity to, or every German runner in the capacity to run a national championship in that discipline. So it's a more multifaceted thing than, this is my great performance, but also there was like quite some mental challenges involved in me being able to become German champion. That one stands out. My first 100K race obviously stands out, which was one of my first trail races ever at the age of 15.
Wow. Wow.
So that's cool.
That's insane.
Then I mean, I will definitely add Cappadocia to my list as well, which was only 10 days back or so.
Did the dogs chase you there?
Not really, no.
So the dogs are infamous. They're in Turkey.
Really? On the course?
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Okay.
They're everywhere, but they're like super friendly, and they like to be pets and stuff. Like one dog actually, and that's why I didn't say that they were chasing us, but this one dog just like ran with us, like with a waving tail. So it was really cool, and very much in contrast to that other moment that stood out, which is when I ran 100K in the North Vietnamese jungle in 2016, where the dogs are actually very aggressive, frightening. So, I've been chased by dogs back then, but I wouldn't really say that they chased us in Turkey this year.
I want to go back to that. I mean, there was a lot in that in that list, but I want to go back to that. When you were 15, because one of the questions was, like what was kind of the moment that you fell in love with trail running, or like, and for most people, I guess it's like, for me, I started at like 30. So take me back to when you were 15, and what sort of came before that, and how did that happen? That you fell in love with trail running.
Yeah, so I mean, if we go back to my high school times, I was already in love with nature and with spending as much time as possible outside. I grew up in the center of Germany, where we have like quite some beautiful forests, pretty large forests as well. And I just enjoyed like mountain biking through those forests all day long. That was like the definition of my perfect Saturday. If possible with a friend, of course, but if not, then no. And I would just discover it myself. And obviously this was before we had like smartwatches or any GPS device really, no smartphones and so on. So it was just a fact of, or a question of, like going out there without really knowing like where you will go and how you will get back home, and after how many hours that would be. And then in that very area, they put together the Oxfam Trail Walker, which is a charity run, and you group up in teams of 4, and you prepare yourself as a group potentially. That's how we did it anyways. To then run 100K through my home trails on which I had mountain biked so many times before, and with a friend of mine who is now probably something like a mentor, to be honest. He's turning 65 soon, so he's much older than I am and had so much experience in mountain biking, really, or endurance sports in general, and in life in general as well. Me being 15, not knowing anything about life really. So the two of us, we gathered 2 more friends, and then we would prepare ourselves the whole summer to run 100K, and it was not necessarily the race itself, which was fantastic, but the journey to get prepared for that race and like spending time with these 3 friends, which are to this very day are still like very close friends of mine after an adventure like that, of course, it doesn't surprise anyone, I guess. But yeah, that journey, me being 15 and like being surrounded by these amazing people and going out there, and we did like pretty well, and we prepared ourselves very well, like training overnight and all these different things. And that journey really, me being 15, I think it kind of to an extent like defined who I am today, and the fact that I am so much in love with the trail running sport.
Sure.
What were you doing when you were 15, Dean?
Jeez, I hated anything to do with sport. I think it scarred me enough to make it that it was like 15 years I would refuse to do any sport. So yeah, it was definitely the opposite of your kind of experience.
Well, don't get me wrong. I still did the things that like a typical 15-year-old would do. In Germany, that includes drinking beer, especially
at 15.
Yeah,
nice.
I gave up on that mostly. Just because like over the years I started like loving the sport of trail running even more, and understood now being 30 that like drinking and partying and trail running doesn't really go so well. And yeah, just made the decision that like for me trail running is so much more meaningful obviously than partying. Yeah.
After that kind of experience, was it like, oh, this is something I want to do with my life? Like, was there even like a concept in your mind of like being a professional trail runner? And was like that the goal then? Or was it just like, oh, I enjoy this, I'm just going to see where it goes?
Yeah, man. I mean, I maybe I wasn't enough of a dreamer back then or whatever, but like I didn't, like I would never think that this was in the cards. I'm absolutely sure this is what I would have loved to believe where this all leads, but I think it was, I didn't think that this was gonna happen really. I was about to do my A levels and go to university, which I did. But if you had told me back then, like, hey, like you will actually like be a professional runner in a couple of years from now, man, I would have been frothing. But yeah, I did not believe that this would be possible, really. I mean, back then, to be honest, like look where trail running was like 15, 16 years ago. It was at a completely different spot, whereas it is now. I mean, how many professional runners, trail runners were there 15, 16 years ago? A handful only. And I would not think that I would be one of them.
It's actually what I wanted to ask you is, how have you sort of seen the trail running scene develop as you've kind of developed, and has it been a kind of, I guess, have you kind of charted the same kind of journey that as the sport has grown, you've obviously grown, and have you seen kind of similarities in that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think at some points I was just like at the right time, at the right spot at the right time, really, because just 2 years after that 100K race that we just talked about, I would start my dual study program with Adidas. I was like still, like a what you would now call like a hybrid athlete. So I did mountain biking just because this is my first love of sports, really. I was doing a little bit of obstacle racing. That kind of sport like came out of nowhere at that point in time. And yeah, just like running, which where I grew up just meant trail running, really. And yeah, then like I started as a dual student with Adidas, and got to look into the development of trail running shoes, the product management side of Adidas Terex back then. And yeah, I mean, then like people understanding who I was and me obviously delivering some more results then really just led to, because I already knew the people who like handled sponsorships back then, and the team consisted of like 3-4 trail runners at that time. Now we're like 40 or whatever. But yeah, anyways, I think like then it started like as an ambassadorship, and I got like some products on hand. And again, like look at the product that we were wearing back then. I mean, the speed, like people would run in the speed cross, unimaginable like now. Like look at the super shoes that we now have for the trails. So yeah, like brands developed a lot. Adidas Terex developed a lot, and I think I did not only develop with the general sports of trail running, but also with the brand of Adidas Terex. And yeah, like we've been like growing like hand in hand ever since. We now have products that really cover like the whole field of trail running, which is like so diverse. One of the things I love the most about trail running, right? And we talked about it, like sometimes you run in the Cappadocian desert, sometimes you run in the almost jungle-like forests in South Africa. You run in the snow, you run on like rocky ridges, whatever. And there's product now for everything, and we have like huge series, like race series out there now. And so many brands and even more brands entering the field, and so many athletes being sponsored by those brands, so that like more and more of us can now live from it. And yeah, I mean, I do look at the development critical, but like in general, like looking at the big picture, I think the sport is moving in such a great direction, and I'm super happy to be part of that development, really.
Yeah, I think I just have I think you said you studied business. If you look at the road running and the trail running scene, from a business perspective, brands are investing more in like road running. You'd see like big companies putting a lot of money, but I think now we're starting to see businesses and companies and brands putting money into trail running.
Yeah.
What do you think from a business perspective that is now coming up to business to say, actually, maybe we should pay attention to these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think brands are looking at it like multifaceted. Of course, they understand there's like money to be made, but also that the like CSR thinking is getting like more and more meaningful also in like businessmen and women's minds, meaning that we understand now that going out into the nature is really what helps us humans not only to be healthy physically, but also mentally. And this is also something that brands out there consider. And it's definitely something that I also noticed for myself. And so like me and my fellow runners and every one of us here sitting, trying to inspire others to go out there. And brands kind of like underlining that storyline of yours is something that I think like moves us as a human species into greater direction. I mean, here in Cape Town, this is especially where you can notice the benefits of it. Like with different communities. Basically gathering mainly at sports, especially trail running, I feel, but I might be wrong. Yeah, this is fantastic, and I think we can use more of that as a human species in general.
Yeah. And tell me, is there any kind of moment that you faced, kind of like quite a challenging moment in your career, and how did you kind of like learn from that moment?
I think there are like many ups and downs for all of us, which, is like part of adaptation or personal development, I would say, and a necessity in life, really. So there was like an injury, of course, that really held me back for a long time. I almost gave up running, really.
Sure.
It was this calf pain, I went to so many different specialists, and like no one really could help me figure out like what it was, where it came from, and how we could heal it. And I was almost gonna go back to like mountain biking and saying, okay, like then this is it, like I can't run, but I want to be out there. So if it's not running, then it's something else. But like what I learned is that like nothing is impossible, as stupid as it sounds. But I was training maybe 15, 20 hours at that time, which I couldn't because of that injury. But then if you really love something, then you just got to spend the same time and energy on figuring out what is wrong and how to overcome it. Yeah. And eventually I did figure it out. And now I'm here and I did come back stronger. That is like one of many stories that I could tell. I broke my arm on Clove Corner last year, which was obviously also quite a bummer. It was 2 weeks out from UTCT last year. So that
remember that incident very well.
So that wasn't great. And then some much more intense like personal things that my family had to go through like last year really. But yeah, this is part of life. This is part of our journey, and it even if in the moment it doesn't look like it, it will definitely make you stronger.
Looking back, what I guess is trail running kind of, does it help to deal with those challenges? Is that feeling of kind of being outside? Obviously, if you're injured, you can't trail run. But with the other kind of challenges you face, has trail running like helped you kind of process and deal with that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, what I was just referring to in a very unspecific way was that after like a long sickness, my dad passed away like pretty much exactly 1 year ago.
Sure.
So while I was already in Cape Town last year, it became clear that he was not going to make it. And so I went back home to see him some last days and be there for my family, obviously, and organize like everything that had to be organized. But instead of like just crawling into bed and not doing anything, I did forget about UTCT 100 very quickly, which I was planning to run last year already. Obviously, I had to diverge from that plan, and even when there were many other things that like took away so much energy, obviously back home, and like weather was miserable at home at this point in time, like gray, 4 degrees, rain, like every day, all day. So I forgot about like threshold training and so on for a while, or VO2 max training or whatever, and I just went out there to like help me process all this. And it was like great. Like trail running was what like helped me recover up to a point where just 2 weeks before the race UTCT, I said, okay, you know what, I'll be courageous, sorry, and come back and then at least run the 35K, because man, I love this place, Cape Town, so much, and all the beautiful humans running on the trails here. And some people around that I went to Otta with, they knew what was happening with my dad, and it was just really good to spend time here in Cape Town with those people. So I said just 2 weeks before the race, after like the dust had at least a little bit settled on what happened had happened at home, that I would come back and run 35K here, and then came back and broke my arm on the very first run back here in Cape Town, which at that moment again felt like, wow, like life is like not really treating me very well right now, and sometimes it will feel like that. But yeah, long story short, trail running and the trail running community here, but also more in general terms, did help me recover it, and I'm now here to tick that box for me and for everyone, to run the 100K here and be even more okay than I am now.
I think I just wanna Dean and I went to separate mental health events yesterday. I did a run for Ways for Change. I think you did one with Community Track.
Yeah.
And I think, it's something that we don't speak about as runners, as pros, as normal people, that we all go through something.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing you with your arm supporting us on the road, and I was like, firstly, this because I knew about his dad last year, and I was like, why is this guy here? And then he breaks his arm, and he's still here. And I was like, I mean, it was just a testament on your mental strength and to just keep going and just not let adversity take over. I'm just like seeing him on the trails. It's like just blew my mind. It's like I would be in bed, just like switch off my phone, and it's just like something that I really look up to.
Can you go a bit more into that, like the reason why you kind of stayed around to support? What was the, even though you couldn't run, but you still hung in there. What was the kind of thinking?
I mean, there's so many pieces to that. I mean, first of all, like Musa just said, like the like trail runners are my best friends now. Like I've got Robbie, for example, sitting at home, Robbie Simpson, who I, like spent, I don't know, like half of the year with, in different locations. So he is one of the most trusted persons I have, like one of my best friends. And he's on the trails and like trail runners, if like trail running is a lot of what I am about and what my life is about. So, we would just like understand each other. My girlfriend is a trail runner as well, who was here in Cape Town last year. So, so the people is one aspect of why I knew this was going to help me. And another aspect is, just being out in nature, which also always helped me in my previous life on different challenges. And the combination of friends, community, nature, this just sounded like as a much better opportunity compared to like laying in bed. And sometimes maybe laying in bed is what you need. And there were days and hours where I did that. But like there are these great human beings out there on the trails. And I mean, it wasn't so much that I supported you, Musa, on the trails last year. It was actually
to bubble, Musa.
It's actually the other way around, like you also gave me a lot of possibility to heal by seeing you thrive on the trails like 1 year ago. So that's also part of the truth, really.
Oh, thank you. Even though I had what I think was a horrible race, but thank you.
And, talking about races, when you kind of hit a wall or hit a kind of a low point, if you do, what kind of drives you and helps you push through that?
Oh, that's easy. I mean, in a 15, 16 year-long experience of the trails, that there will be many walls and even downhills. This is just part of the process. And I know it's really easy to say, sometimes a little bit harder to understand, but it is just absolutely normal to have little downhills or walls that you run through, and you just must not give up. You must know who's on your side, on your team, really. Is that coaches? Is that friends offering great advice or empathy? And then you just have to know like what you got to do, which is sometimes just wait and sit it out. Sometimes you have to adjust it. It's like something. But the first step definitely is to just understand this is just part of the process and you will get out of this.
Amazing.
I think I just want to follow up with that. I mean, we've seen, personally, like I follow your journey and you seem to take a little bit, I think this year is a bit different, but you don't take your training as seriously as I've seen with other pros. Other pros actually like just put themselves in this bubble. I mean, there's a video of you running up Kloof Neck Ridge with like the camera on your phone. Would you say like you try and make your training fun to suit your style, or do you also like get into like that bubble where you like have to train specifically and you can't mess this up type of thing? How do you approach your training?
Yeah, I think it's this balance, and I mean what you see on social maybe is not always like the truth. Like sometimes some runners maybe feel a little bit obliged to like look very professional and focused on social media, but I don't think you can like be, or you shouldn't, or I couldn't be 100% focused on this race, then that race, then that race, then that race for 15 years or even longer. Like I don't think that really works for me, anyways. So what I do is I really like to, don't forget why I fell in love with the sports in the first place, which are like the long days out with yourself, with nature, and just like be out there and discover and explore and just enjoy being out there with yourself, with friends, with beautiful nature. And I think this is what helps me to then in other situations or periods to then like mentally fully focus on the task at hand, which right now is running UTCT as strong as I can. And then there will be like beautiful skiing, ski touring back home. And then we start focusing again on next season. But there will be adventures. There will be long days out there. There will be long runs with friends where it will matter less if my heart rate is 3 beats higher or lower than what it ideally would be. And this is what is required for me personally, and I guess that's true for many other runners as well. To like stay on the right path for many years.
And you talked a bit about nature. What kind of gave you that love of nature, and what is it specifically about the nature? And then also, does that kind of help your trail running? Do you think that gives you a bit of an edge that you're just so in love with like being outdoors?
Yeah, I think it's what always like what made me fall in love with sports or trail running specifically, or endurance sports specifically in the first place. Being out there, just like every single time, it just feels like I'm supposed to be here. Like this is making me feel better. Like all the problems or struggles that I might have had before the run or bike rides, they're just like quite far away right now. And when I come back, it just doesn't like come back, but like the problem is like solved, at least in a tiny perspective, and the race or run after that will help me to process this even further, or come back home with a great idea or new angle or new energy to tackle that problem or whatever it is. And I really don't know how to describe that better, other than like being out there just feels amazing. And I think this love for nature is really required to like push through a training block for 100K. Like if you don't love being outside, then like how the hell do you want to like train for 20 hours every week? Like week after week after week after week, it's just not going to happen. And also the race, like I mean, running 100K, like it will feel tough at some point. And if you don't have that reason in your mind, like why you do this, and the more reasons and the heftier those reasons are, the better, obviously, then you will probably not finish that race. And the love for nature definitely is one of the reasons for me.
Yeah, just on that, there was a guest here, Carla. She's a pro. She likes to reward herself with like having cake after a run. And a lot of people, like, from a nutritional perspective, why would you want to have cake? As someone that's so dialed into their training, how do you like reward yourself after like a good run?
Yeah.
Besides sleep, of course.
Sleep, rest, recover, refuel, rehydrate are like definitely the big four, I would say. But not only physically, like there's a mental approach. So if cake is your thing, then I think like we burn this like crazy amount of carbs, right? So like a cake is definitely not necessarily not a bad idea.
It's very nice.
It's very nice, exactly. And if that makes you feel better about yourself and like like keeps you motivated during the race, then cake is the thing to go. Like for me, it will be pizza. I don't want to have anything sweet after a race because I've been like shoving down like carb drinks and gels for so many hours. So like drinking or eating something sweet is not really what I want to do. So for me, it is pizza. And like I said, we've been burning this crazy amount of carbs. So like a pizza is probably like not a bad idea, like just speaking like physically, just to like replenish what you've been burning. And then, like you said, there's this mental aspect of it as well. You've been pushing hard. That was hard for you mentally as well. So make sure you feel mentally great as well. And if cake or pizza is what makes that happen, then I don't see a reason. I actually see a reason to definitely do it.
I think the aid stations should include some sort of pizza or a cake somewhere.
I couldn't do that, but my stomach is very sensitive. So I wouldn't, like, as much as I love pizza, I would probably not have it 80 kilometers in the UTCT. But I will have it like an hour or two after the race.
I think I want to jump on that, Dean. It's like, because I also have a very sensitive stomach. Last year I bombed out because my stomach just wouldn't take anything. The legs were like, let's go. But
I know,
the stomach is like,
it's so bad.
and, I've been very lucky to work with a few brands that have, been willing to help dialing up my nutrition. And you spoke about earlier, like how you saw into your nutrition, and what do you think for you works when like your body just doesn't want to take anything? Like what's your go-to?
So nutrition is something that my coach Dimitri Mityev, two-time winner of UTCT 100K, and I have been working a lot on. His approach to training is not only but also quite rational and scientific. So we do treadmill testing with like respiratory measurement, so that we exactly know at what intensities do I burn which energy source, fat, protein, carb, and how does that develop like throughout the years of training. So I know what I need to get down, and for all of us, it's usually, or most of us, it's usually the maximum amount that your gut will be able to handle. I know where that is for me. It's a little bit lower than like ideally it would be. So like I would be running faster if I could get down more carbs, which again is probably true for most of us. Usually I can like withstand like anything between 85 and 95 grams of carbs per hour. And the way to get down those without without as many struggles as possible is via drink mixes. So I don't even use gels. They don't really work that well for me. So even in 100K, I will only drink fluids, carbohydrate intense fluids. No gel, no nothing. And that works a while for me until a point where it just doesn't. And then I can do Coke a little bit longer.
Okay.
But then, similar to what you are facing, at some point I will not be able to get that down either. And then it becomes really hard. Your legs usually are fine. But like your mind plays tricks on you, and you just want to like lay down and sleep like on the trail. If it's raining, if it's snowing, whatever, you just want to like lay down exactly where you are and sleep. And this is when we must keep going anyways.
Have you had that where you just like stopped and you're like, okay, I think this is it?
Well, I did DNF a couple of times. But like I try to like work on that nutrition plan better and better, and understand what my body can handle and what it can't. And I think I'm getting closer to it every time a little bit. And it seems like, unless of course there's like a stomach bug or whatever, I seem to make it work better and better. And you know, I've been saying this. I'm doing this now for almost 16 years, and I still haven't figured it out like all the way. Even though I do have like this amazing coach on my side, and nutrition sponsors and so on, but it's just not that easy. And I think that's like ties back to what I said earlier. That, you know, it's like a gradual journey, and I'm actually very happy that, you know, this gradual incline is still going up. You know, like I think at some point it will stop. I mean, you know, improvements have become marginal anyways, but once this plateaus or even goes down at some point, I think that will be quite tough for me, as it is for most runners. Talking about mental health again. But yeah, for now, I'm glad that I'm not quite there yet, and I still see improvements, and make learnings and grow as an athlete as well as as a person. And that's a really good thing.
Imagine you've had a hectic 2024. You've run a lot of races, you've put in a lot of effort. Now, cast your mind over to the clear waters of Zanzibar. Beyond white sand beaches, a dial sails across the horizon, and there you are, chilling in your hammock with your well-deserved rest for a hard-earned 2024. Want to make that happen? Check out Luggage Warehouse's Black Friday competition. One lucky shopper will win a return ticket to Zanzibar worth 9,000 Rand. Or you can trade it in for 4,500 Rand in cash, which you can use towards your race entries, your nutrition, or your gear for next year's running. Any purchase, big or small, gets you in the draw, and it's easy to enter. Just shop at luggagewarehouse.co.za or in their Cape Town and Joburg stores during Black Friday week. And if you want a bonus entry, sign up for Luggage Warehouse's newsletter and you'll get one when you make your purchase. Head over to luggagewarehouse.co.za/Zanzibar for the details. T's and C's apply.
And in terms of like aid stations in races, you know, do you have a one strategy that you always kind of go with, or is it kind of very much race dependent, looking at conditions and things like that? Would you put together a plan?
Yeah, so it does obviously depend on like how hot it is, like how much will I sweat. This will give me information about how much sodium especially I will need to intake. But like the base is, I know I can get like in the beginning of the race maybe 95 grams per hour in of carbs, best if only in as a drink mix, carbohydrate drink mix. So that's basically the base, and I like try to exactly measure onto which aid stations I need to have like how many milliliters of this and that drink mix, and then potentially spice it up with like salt tablets, additional sodium. Yeah, and that's pretty much it, because I know I can't make it more let's say complex, because my stomach will just not be able to handle it.
Yeah. And you know, going back to the SkyRunning, you know, I think a lot of people, especially in South Africa, we don't really understand the concept of it. So can you kind of explain?
Like every trail run of yours is basically a SkyRun.
Yeah. So
it's actually funny.
Yeah. So tell me, I think let's take it back. So look, what is SkyRunning? You know, and what kind of appeals to it of it for you?
Yeah, I think the textbook definition of skyrunning is that it's like very steep. It will require you technically to run above 2,000 meters at some point of the race, and it can only be like so and so many % on like jeep tracks and so on. So it must be on trails, obviously. And rather than in some other races where you run around a mountain, skyrunning, again, textbook definition, like goes up to a mountain and then back down a mountain. Okay. So I guess that's what skyrunning is textbook wise about. In practice, it will be more, hey, it's super technical terrain, and yes, it's like a little bit steeper. Which is, again, like I wasn't kidding just now.
Climb Platteklip.
Yes, I mean, go up Platteklip, run around Table Mountain. Honestly, even run contour path. And this is what like some of the sky races in Europe will look like. Some of them are a little bit more technical than just contour path, but except for the 2,000 meters above sea level, I don't see why like Cape Town couldn't have a sky race. But anyways, like what appeals to me in skyrunning is that it's like and this is why I love trail running in South Africa. You know, like I am a trail runner because I love moving in the mountains with nature, and I don't want to have almost like a groomed and manicured trail. I want the real thing. I want to be in nature. I want to run over that glacier. I want to run about like through bushes because nature intended to have bushes here. So if they're cut back, you know, sometimes that's also appealing. But I want the real thing. Like I want to immerse myself in nature, and I think the closest I can get to that is running either like trails in South Africa or do sky running. And then again in Europe, where race directors are maybe a little bit more conservative when it comes to how technical a race can be. Sky running race directors just push that a little bit further. So you do run or you scramble over a ridge. You do run over glaciers sometimes. You do run on the gnarly terrain that's just like really excites me. In a nutshell, I guess this is why I just love skyrunning.
And talk to me about the German Skyrunning Federation. How did that kind of come about? You know, what was your thinking behind starting it, and how did that all happen?
So on an international scale, there is the International Skyrunning Federation, and they like orchestrate the whole sports of skyrunning for us as a community. And how it works is that if you want to participate in the Skyrunning World Championship, European Championship, whatever, your national entity will send you there. They will select you and they send you there. It's very similar, like World Athletics organizes the World Championship trail running, long distance, short distance, as well as mountain running. And your national Olympic committee, sorry, not the Olympic committee, but your like National Athletics Federation will select you and then send you to those international championships. And on skyrunning side, this national entity just didn't exist until 3 years ago, I think, in Germany. So I like put my head together with a friend and we said, okay, like if no one has done it and no one appears to be willing to do it, let's just do it ourselves.
Sure.
And there's some paperwork involved. There's some like official stuff, like talking to the International Skyrunning Federation and making sure you tick all the boxes that they give you to tick. But it can be done, and we did it. And we've won a silver medal, several silver medals in World Championships. I think, those federations, national federations as well. I'm not sure how it works in South Africa, but it can be a little bit tricky in Germany on athletics side. Like you have to like jump through quite some hoops to
politics.
Yeah. And then you need to pay, and then I don't know, like people. I just don't want to talk badly about anyone, but like I felt now we are like this two-person band, and I think we can do it differently. So if you want to run in the international skyrunning, in the World Championship of Skyrunning as a German, you basically just need to like show to us, obviously, that like your performances are on spot, but you don't have to pay money. You don't have to like jump through any hoops. You don't have to do whatever. Like if and we try to structure this as much as possible, like so that it's not like I bring all my friends to the World Championship, but there's some rules that we put out there for everyone to see. it sounds self-explanatory, but it actually is not. Like, here's the requirements that you need to fulfill, and once you do, and you're a German national, like you have a German passport, then yes, we will send you happily to the World Championship or Continental Championship.
Nice.
So that's a little bit how we do it. Of course, we're still facing like many issues, but I feel we are doing something for the community, and yeah, that feels great to give back.
I think that's a brilliant thing. I mean, congratulations to you, and hopefully the Olympics will recognize trail running.
I
think the guys like at Golden Trail and you know what you guys are doing is like really bringing trail running to the spotlight.
Yep.
And hopefully we can see it on the next Olympics.
Yep.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's not without critics, you know, of course, but I don't really see why an Olympic like being included in the Olympic Games would not help the sport of trail running.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about South Africa. You know, why do you keep coming back? What is the kind of appeal? What do you kind of love about Cape Town?
Yeah, in a nutshell, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's the people mainly. It's the nature. It's like I said, like how technical the trails are. It's the weather. It's the food. But most of all, it's the community. Like, it didn't really take many trips to South Africa until I was friends with people like Musa and the other trail runners out there. They're just like very inclusive, and they're happy for you to be here, and they're willing to let you know like where the best trails are and like what else to discover in South Africa, and that's just amazing. I mean, excuse me. In Germany or in the German culture, you know, like if I went to a supermarket and I asked someone, like the cashier, the person sitting at the cash desk, how he or she was, like they would look at me like as if I like were like out of my mind, you know, like it's just something that you don't do in Germany. And here it happens every single time, you know, like people ask you how you are. And it's like these tiny little things, you know, about the culture, about the community that make like a huge difference, you know. I really like to make sure that people around me are well, and I also like when apparently they like care about how I am, and this is great, and I think this is how it should be. And in Germany, it doesn't seem to be that way. I mean, of course, I guess you know what I mean. It just feels very, very nice.
I think last year I said we must give Macy an African name. I still need to come up with that name.
Yeah, well, we can crowdsource it.
Yeah, I think my question is obviously the South African ladies love you. So what's your strategy this year to try and avoid them?
And also, how do you keep your hair so perfect when you're trail running? While we're on the subject.
So as I have a girlfriend, the second question is very much more comfortable for me to answer. I just don't do anything about that hair.
Yeah.
I just like sweat into it and I just like wash it a little bit, but I don't groom it much. I don't use a hair dryer. I don't use like fancy product. I just...
Maybe you should spend some time with Dean.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take you to my hairdresser.
I mean, your hair looks amazing, but
it's not your vibe.
It's not my vibe. No, don't take it personally.
And talk to me specifically about UTCT. I think what about it kind of draws you, other than, you know, what you kind of mentioned about Cape Town and about South Africa, and also talk to me a bit about the kind of difference between, you know, UTCT and kind of like a UTMB or, you know, a race in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention like the trails are awesome here. The community is absolutely mind-blowing here. But also if you look at it, I mean, yes, we have great races in Europe as well, but firstly, what I love about trail running, and I think I've also mentioned this, the diversity of trail running. You know, like trail running can be everything from a VK to 100 miles or even longer. It can be everything from running in the desert to running in the jungle and everything in between, like on glaciers, on rocky ridges, whatnot. This is all trail running. And yeah, Cape Town trails are very specific as well. And what you have here, and you don't really have almost anywhere in the world is that you have like this huge city and the ocean and the mountains right next to it. Like this is such an like unique thing. Like you have that. I was trying to like gather this. I think you have like a couple of places in the States. Maybe we have something like that. You have that maybe in Hong Kong, but like it's a very short list of places that can offer something like that. And this is absolutely amazing. Like the things that you can do here. Like the other day we snorkeled a little bit right after a run, and then you have like all the great things that a city also offers, like a studio where you can record a podcast, for example. And this is something that Chamonix can't offer you. This is something that Zermatt doesn't offer you. There's only very few places in the world that do offer all this. And this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. Talk to me a bit about the different distances, I guess, at UTCT, the different races that you've kind of run there. And I guess a broader question, do you kind of find that you have a specific distance, or are you working up to the 100-miler? Or is there kind of a favorite distance that you find that you're kind of perfect at?
Yeah. Like obviously at UTCT you have everything from 22K all the way up to 100 miles, which is fantastic. And again, just underlines the fact that trail running is so much more than running 100K or 100 miles or whatever. It's more than that, and it requires different athletes to do this or that. And yeah, I have experienced both the 35 as well as the 55 here in Cape Town. And yeah, like I said, I was planning to run the 100K last year here. I couldn't, but I'm back at it this year, and I'm super excited about that. Now I forgot what the other question was.
Just distances you kind of run.
Yes, yeah. So I have done the 35 in 21, the 55 2 years ago, nothing last year, 100K, fingers crossed this year. And yeah, for me personally, I always, because I have this sensitive stomach, so I always thought the longer distances are probably nothing for me. So I stepped down a little bit. Like I said, like when I was 15 and a little bit younger, I did run 100K. I've done so, I think, in total 8 times by now. But the last couple of years, it was more like marathon distance or even shorter, like anything from like 3 to 6 hours, let's say. And then like even those were like tough for me because like you burn so many carbs, and then like uptaking that amount of carbs is really hard because you still run so intensively. Yeah. So I did what, together with my coach, obviously, something that like sounds very counterintuitive. Like if the short races are or like the middle distances, let's say, maybe don't work, especially in the end because I run out of fuel. Let's just go up in distance, which again like sounds super counterintuitive. But if you think about it, the amount of or the ratio of carbs versus fats are a little bit better for me with someone like with a sensitive stomach. I will burn more fat and partially less carbs. And also the intensity is a little bit lower, obviously, in the long distances, meaning that uptaking a specific amount of carbs is a little bit easier for you as well. And luckily, with all the like scientific measurements that I did with my coach, he agreed that metabolically this is a little bit like it's a little bit more natural to me for me to run those distances. And again, you know, as someone who just like loves to be out there in nature for a long time, I also feel like the training for the longer distances suit me much better. I just have much more fun in that kind of preparation. So yeah, I stepped up just this year from 3 to 6 hours to, you know, like the 80K, also did 100K this year once, and will do it again, fingers crossed. So yeah, this is what I'm looking at right now. I do think I want to do 100 miles at some point in time. If I will do that basically with full focus and will do that regularly at some point in time, I don't know. But it's definitely something that I want to experience at least once in my running career. Yeah.
Just on that UTCT questions, let's see, we're running out of time. Jim Wasley has the record for the 100K. I mean, be it being the old course.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Do you think you'll try and get closer to that number this year?
It flatters me that you ask, and obviously you trust that I could do that. Like you said, it's the old course. I think my coach Dimitri did very well on the course last year with just over 10.5, I think it was.
That was insane.
Yeah. I'll try to get close to that, but I think realistically that course record this year and probably next will be, realistically speaking, out of scope for me. Yeah.
Okay.
And what advice do you kind of give to people who kind of come up to you and say, I want to start trail running? What do I do? Where do I go? What's the kind of the first thing I should do?
Yeah, it's hard to generalize, I think. There's many mistakes to be made. I think the most common ones are probably to overdo it in the beginning. We all most of us, we fall in love with the sports at the very first moment, and then we tend to go out for too long, for too hard, too frequently, and then we get injured, or we kind of lose, because also maybe we get too strict with everything, and then we lose the joy in it, or we get injured. And I think the most important things are to take it slow, keep it real, and make sure you give your body and also your mind the rest that it requires, which will then, and now it's already getting a little bit more complex, that advice I would give, to refuel in the right way, to rest as you should, all these things. So that's one thing, and the other thing is just to make sure you keep loving what you love, and you keep. You must not forget why you fell in love with the sport in the first place, and just hold on to that and enjoy yourself and your time with your friends out there, and then usually you will do great.
What does it mean to be a part of the Adidas Terex team?
It's absolutely fantastic. We do get to spend time at the most perfect places. We are out here for 6 weeks now. And we are all together, in one great house. We cook together, we watch Friends together, we go through the highs and lows together, we discuss race strategies together. We're just like a family almost, in Cape Town or in Cappadocia or in Chamonix. And we keep doing it again and again and again. And we're just this bunch of friends who get to do what we love most, which is running out there on the trails, and this is just fantastic to have the opportunity, an opportunity like this. I think, and I don't want to be judgmental or whatever, but I think the Terex team is the gang that is the closest. We get to spend more time with each other than most other sponsored athletes, I would say. I think that's a fair thing to say. The more time you do get to spend together, the closer the friendships will be, and the more enjoyable that time will be as well. So it's absolutely fantastic, and it has definitely helped me to learn from athletes when I was younger, that were more experienced at that time. So that helped me, and understanding what it actually takes to be a professional athlete, not going out for, avo toast every day, and outings, or early morning swims or whatever. Yes, you can do it, but also you must ensure that you get enough rest, and maybe you do stay home every once in a while instead of, like going out to the city. And yeah, those are just a few of the learnings I have made thanks to my teammates. And yeah, I just hope that I can maybe also pass that along now to the next generation, to the younger folks joining the team, or like on Instagram, the followers that I have or whatever, to make sure that there will be new people, new runners joining, and also being able to like find their own path, like I am trying to.
What does the future hold for you?
Yeah, many great things. I'm sure. I think I'll just be running a little bit longer. I will like always run and bike out there and enjoy nature. Maybe at some point in time I will not have a bib on my chest anymore, or only a few times in the year. I don't know, but I will be out there on the trails. That's for sure. Cheering on, running myself, hiking. I don't know. Like I said, I did study like business with Adidas back in the day. I have worked as a product developer for trail running shoes for a while, and I loved that job as well. I have my master's that I'm currently doing, combining entrepreneurship, innovation management with sports science. So I think I always could go back to that part of things, and I would absolutely love it as well. But yeah, we'll need to find a way where, and this is why I left that job in the first place, because I just, like, for now, love to be in the mountains so much, and both things were not really to be combined at one point in time. So I think I must periodize.
Periodically.
Yeah. Thanks. Do that. Enjoy the mountains now, and then find my way to still enjoy the mountains, but also have like what most people would call a real job. At some point in my life again. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the dream, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the dream.
Yeah.
A final question from me. What does it feel? What is the finish line? When you get to a finish line, whether you win or you don't, what are those kind of feelings? Is it kind of like relief? Is it joy? Is it, just take us through that kind of finish line experience.
Ooh, this is a hard last question, because obviously, like, what you went through that race, like, will always be a little bit different. Like, sometimes you just have the perfect day out there and you win, or maybe you don't even win, but you've finish with what feels for you like a perfect performance, like for where you are at the moment. And this is what I hope for at UTCT. I will probably not win. I don't want to say that I won't, but like chances are that I will not. But I hope still to put like my best performance out there on the day. And that will make me feel very, very happy, accomplished. But then even if I do not feel like I had the greatest day out there, and I still make it to the finish line, then like making it to the finish line alone is also quite an achievement in itself, for which you will feel proud. And then, to be honest, you will also feel relieved, because running 100K like is great, and it will make us grow. And like out of the 11 or whatever hours, like, I don't know, 6 or maybe even 10, like, will feel amazing. But in the end, you will have run enough and you will be relieved that you are at the finish line and get to enjoy time with your team and like just rest a little bit, have pizza, like we said earlier.
Cake.
Or cake or both or whatever.
Pizza cake.
No, I don't think so. Although like pizza with Nutella and bananas is actually not that bad. But it's just a side note. I will be happy and relieved, and there will be other accomplishments of other runners of Adidas Terex. I'm sure about that. And this is the other great thing about us, like even if your race maybe didn't go as you planned, there will be achievements made by the team, that's by your friends, for which you will be super happy. And so almost every day is a day to celebrate.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much. This was incredible. Hopefully we can do this again next year when you come and do the 100 miler. But yeah, good luck for the race, and very excited to follow along and see you win, hopefully.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Macy.
Thank you.
Feeling fired up after this incredible episode? Dive deeper into the world of trail running by exploring our other episodes, available wherever you get your podcasts. We're eagerly awaiting your feedback as well, so connect with us on Instagram @TrailChasersPod. Don't hold back. Like, comment, message, and share your thoughts. Until next week, keep chasing those trails.